Elias Vance wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at his garden. The tomatoes were coming along nicely. The beans were climbing their poles. The lettuce was green and crisp. It was good work. Honest work. The kind of work that made a man sleep well at night. Station Kepler-7 floated in the cold dark of space, far from Earth, far from anywhere that mattered. It sat on the edge of Draconian territory, a small human outpost that the great Dragon Empire allowed to exist because humans were useful. Humans could make things grow. They could take dead rock and poisoned soil and turn it into fields of wheat and orchards of fruit. The Draconians did not understand how they did it. They did not care to understand. They only cared that it worked. Elias had lived on the station for 12 years. He was 43 years old, with gray in his beard and dirt under his fingernails. He had no wife, no children, no family waiting for him back on Earth. He had his garden. That was enough. The station was home to about 300 humans. They kept to themselves mostly. The Draconians who passed through treated them like servants at best, like insects at worst. A human learned quickly to keep his head down and his mouth shut when the dragonfolk came through. Their scales gleamed like polished metal. Their eyes burned like hot coals. Their claws could tear through steel. One wrong word, one wrong look, and a human could find himself bleeding on the floor, with no one to help him. But the Draconians rarely visited the agricultural sector. Too dirty, too beneath him. So Elias worked in peace, growing his vegetables, tending his fruit trees, sending his harvest to feed the people of the station. It was evening when he first saw the child. The sun lamps had dimmed to simulate dusk. Elias was putting away his tools, hanging them on their hooks in the small shed at the edge of his plot. He heard a sound, a small sound, like something moving through the compost heap behind the shed. He walked around to look. What he saw made him stop. A Draconian child crouched in the shadows between the compost bins. It was small, barely 4 feet tall. Its scales were dull and gray, not shining like healthy Draconian scales should. Its wings were pressed flat against its back, tucked in tight. Its eyes were large and dark and full of fear. Elias had never seen a Draconian child before. He had never seen any Draconian look afraid. The child stared at him. Elias stared back. Neither of them moved. Elias noticed things. The child's ribs showed through its scales. Its claws were cracked and dirty. There were old marks on its arms that looked like scars. This was not a child who had wandered away from wealthy parents. This was a child who had been running for a long time. He should report this. That was the rule. Any unusual Draconian activity had to be reported to the station commander, who would report it to the Draconian authorities. That was how humans stayed safe. That was how humans stayed alive. Elias looked at the child. The child looked at him. It trembled like a leaf in wind. He turned and walked back to his shed. He heard a tiny sound behind him, almost like a whimper. He ignored it. He put his tools away. He closed the shed door. He walked to his small living quarters at the edge of the garden. Inside, he had a pot of vegetable stew left over from lunch. He had made too much, as he always did. He lived alone, but he still cooked like he was feeding a family. Old habits. He put the pot on the heating element. He let the stew warm up. He found a bowl and filled it. He tore off a chunk of bread from the loaf on his counter. Then he walked back outside. The child was still there, huddled in the same spot. It watched him come closer with those huge dark eyes. Elias saw its body tense, ready to run. He set the bowl and bread on the ground, about 10 feet from the child. Then he stepped back. He turned around. He walked to his tomato plants and began checking them for pests, his back to the child. For a long time, there was silence. Then he heard movement. Soft footsteps. The scrape of claws on metal. The clink of the bowl being picked up. He did not turn around. He kept checking his tomatoes. He heard the sound of eating. Fast, desperate eating. The eating of someone who had not had a real meal in days. When he finally turned around, the bowl was empty. The bread was gone. The child was gone too, vanished into the shadows of the station's maintenance tunnels. Elias picked up the empty bowl. He washed it in his quarters. He went to bed. The next evening, he made more stew. He left it in the same spot that the child came back. This went on for 3 days. Elias would leave food. The child would come and eat. They never spoke. They never got close. But a kind of trust began to form. The child stopped trembling when Elias approached. It stopped looking like it was about to run. On the 4th night, the child spoke. Why? Elias was checking his bean plants. He did not turn around. Why what? Why do you feed me? It was a strange question. Elias thought about it. Because you are hungry. I am draconian. You are human. We are not the same. Hungry is hungry, Elias said. Doesn't matter what you are. Silence. Then the sound of eating died when Elias turned around. The child was still there. It had not run away. It sat on the ground near the compost heap, holding the empty bowl in its small clawed hands. I am Keth, the child said. I'm Elias. Why are you not afraid of me? Elias looked at the small, thin, tired creature sitting in his garden. He almost laughed. Should I be? Keth did not answer. But something changed in those dark eyes. Something softened. For a moment, the child looked like what it was. Not a dragon. Not an alien. Just a scared kid far from home. You can come back tomorrow, Elias said. I always make too much food. He went inside and closed his door. Behind him, in the darkness of the garden, Keth sat for a long time, holding the empty bowl, staring at the closed door with an expression that no Draconian had ever shown a human before. It was the beginning of something neither of them expected. The days passed slowly on Station Kepler 7. The sun lamps rose and fell in their endless cycle. The plants grew. Elias worked. And every evening, Keth came to the garden. At first, the child only came to eat. Elias would leave food out, and Keth would appear from the shadows, eat quickly, and disappear again. But slowly, things changed. Keth started staying longer, started sitting closer, started watching Elias work. One evening, Elias was planting seeds. Small brown things, no bigger than grains of sand. He pushed them into the dark soil with his fingers, one by one, row by row. What are those? Keth asked. Elias did not look up. Carrots. They do not look like food. They will be. In about 3 months. Keth moved closer. The child's scales had started to look better. Less dull, more shine. Good food was making a difference. How do you know they will grow? I don't know for sure. But I give them good soil, clean water, enough light. I take care of them. Usually, they grow. And if they don't, then I try again. Keth was quiet for a moment. Draconians do not do this. We do not grow things. We take things. We hunt. We conquer. Growing is weak. Elias smiled a little. Maybe, but my weakness feeds this whole station. 300 people eat because of this garden. That doesn't feel weak to me. He finished planting the row and stood up, brushing dirt from his knees. Keth was staring at the soil where the seeds were buried, a strange look on the child's face. Would you like to help? Elias asked. Keth looked up sharply. Help? Plant some seeds? It's not hard. For a long moment, Keth did not move. Then, slowly, the child knelt down in the dirt beside Elias. Elias showed Keth how to make small holes with a finger, how to drop the seeds in, how to cover them gently with soil. Keth's claws were not made for this kind of work. They were sharp and curved, built for tearing, not for delicate tasks. But the child tried. Kath was very careful, very slow, very focused. When the row was done, Kath looked at it with something like pride. "Now we water them," Elias said. He handed Kath a small watering can. The child took it carefully, like it was something precious. Together, they watered the newly planted seeds. "How long before we see them?" Kath asked. "A few weeks for the first sprouts. Patience is the hardest part of gardening. Patience." Kath said the word like it was foreign. "Draconians do not have patience. We have power. We have strength. We take what we want when we want it." "And how's that working out for you?" Kath went still. The question hung in the air between them. Elias had not meant it to be cruel, but he saw the way the child's shoulders tightened, the way those dark eyes dropped to the ground. "I am sorry," Elias said quietly. "That was not fair." "No." Kath's voice was small. "It was fair. I have nothing. I am nothing. All the power of my people, and I am hiding in a human's garden, eating scraps." Elias sat down on an overturned bucket. He was quiet for a while, thinking. Then he said, "You know what I've learned in 40 years of living? Power isn't what people think it is. It's not about being strong or scary or being able to hurt people. Real power is being able to help. Being able to make things better instead of worse." Kath looked up at him. "That is a very human thing to say." "Probably. But I've seen what draconian power looks like. Big ships, big guns, big armies. And what does it get you? A galaxy full of people who are afraid of you. A galaxy full of people who would celebrate if your empire fell tomorrow." Elias shrugged. "That doesn't seem like power to me. That seems like loneliness." The child was quiet for a long time after that. The next day, Kath came earlier. The child helped Elias weed the vegetable beds. It was hard work, dirty work, the kind of work that draconians would consider beneath them. But Kath did it without complaint. The child's claws were actually good for pulling weeds, better than human fingers. "Tell me about Earth," Kath said while they worked. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. I have never met a human before you. I was taught that humans are weak, soft, that you die quickly and accomplish nothing." Elias laughed. "Well, we do die quickly compared to your people. 80 years if we're lucky. 100 if we're very lucky. But accomplish nothing? I don't know about that." He told Kath about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests, about the cities that touched the sky and the farms that fed billions, about the music and art and stories that humans had created over thousands of years, about the wars too, because he was honest. Humans were not perfect. They had done terrible things to each other, but they had also done beautiful things. Kath listened to everything. The child asked questions. Good questions, smart questions. Elias realized that Kath was not just any draconian child. There was a sharp mind behind those dark eyes. A curious mind. The kind of mind that wanted to understand things, not just conquer them. "Why did you leave your home?" Elias asked one evening. Kath's hands stopped moving. The child stared at the half-weeded bed for a long moment. "I cannot tell you." "Okay, it is not safe. For you or for me. Okay." Kath looked up, surprised. "You are not angry? You do not demand answers?" Elias shook his head. "Everyone has secrets. Everyone has things they can't talk about. When you're ready to tell me, you will. Until then, it doesn't change anything. You're still welcome here." Something happened on Kath's face then. A trembling around the mouth. A wetness in the eyes. Elias had not known that draconians could cry. "I do not understand you," Kath whispered. "I do not understand how you can be so kind to someone you do not know. Someone who is not even your own kind. Elias reached out and very gently put his hand on the child's shoulder. The scales were warm under his palm. "You're a kid who needed help." That's all I needed to know. Keth did not pull away from the touch. Instead, the child leaned into it, just a little. Just enough dot in the quiet of the garden, surrounded by growing things. Something else was growing too. Something fragile and new. Something that neither of them had words for yet. Trust that it was only the beginning. And the danger was coming closer every day. 8 days after Keth first appeared in his garden, Elias heard the sirens. They were warning sirens. The kind that meant something important was happening. The kind that told all humans to stay inside and stay quiet. Elias put down his watering can and walked to the edge of his garden plot, where he could see the main corridor of the station. Through the transparent walls, he saw them coming. Draconian soldiers. Not the regular guards who sometimes passed through the station. These were different. These wore black armor that covered them from head to tail. Their helmets had red visors that glowed like angry eyes. They walked in perfect formation, their boots striking the floor in unison. Each one carried a weapon that Elias did not recognize, something sleek and deadly looking. Behind them came an officer. He was taller than the others, his armor decorated with gold markings. A long cape hung from his shoulders. His scales were deep crimson, the color of dried blood. Even through the transparent walls, even from this distance, Elias could feel the power radiating off him. These were not ordinary soldiers. These were royal guards. The personal army of the Draconian throne. Elias felt his stomach drop. He moved quickly. He went to his shed and opened a hidden panel in the floor. Months ago, he had dug a small root cellar beneath the shed, a place to store vegetables through the winter cycle. He had also dug a tunnel that connected to the station's old maintenance shafts. It was not much of a hiding place, but it was something. He found Keth in his living quarters, eating breakfast. The child looked up when Elias entered, and immediately the smile died on Keth's face. What is wrong? Soldiers. Royal guards. They're searching the station. Keth's scales went pale. The child stood up so fast that the chair fell over. They found me. They found me. Not yet. Come with me. Elias led Keth to the shed. He showed the child the hidden door, the ladder that went down into the dark cellar. Stay here. Don't make a sound. Don't come out until I come get you. Understand? Keth grabbed Elias's arm. The child's claws dug in, not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to show fear. They will kill you. If they find out you helped me, they will kill you. Then I'd better make sure they don't find out. Why? Why would you risk your life for me? You don't even know what I am. Elias looked at the frightened child in front of him. He thought about all the meals they had shared, all the conversations in the garden, all the quiet moments of peace. I know enough, he said. Now go. Hide. He helped Keth down the ladder. He closed the hidden door and covered it with bags of compost. Then he went back to his garden and picked up his watering can. By the time the soldiers reached him, he was calmly tending his tomatoes. There were 6 of them, plus the officer. They spread out through the garden, their weapons ready, their red visors scanning everything. The officer walked straight toward Elias. He was even more terrifying up close. His eyes were gold, bright and cold like coins. His teeth were sharp when he spoke. Human, I am Commander Vexer of the Imperial Royal Guard. We are searching for a fugitive. A juvenile draconian, approximately 1 meter tall, gray scales, believed to be hiding somewhere on this station. Elias kept his face blank. It was not hard. He had spent 12 years learning how to show nothing to draconians. A child? He said. What did a child do to deserve the Royal Guard? Vexer's eyes narrowed. That is not your concern. Have you seen anything unusual? Any draconians in this sector? No, sir. Just me and my vegetables. Draconians don't come to the agricultural sector much. Too dirty. One of the soldiers laughed. It was not a nice laugh. Vexer silenced him with a look. You will not mind if we search your property. It was not a question. Elias stepped aside and gestured at his garden. Search all you want. Won't find anything but carrots and beans. The soldiers searched. They tore through his shed, knocking tools off hooks and scattering supplies across the floor. They went through his living quarters, overturning his bed and emptying his cupboards. They walked through his garden beds, crushing some of his plants under their heavy boots. Elias watched and said nothing. His hands were steady. His face was calm. Inside, his heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst. One soldier stood right next to the compost heap, right next to the hidden door. Elias forced himself to breathe normally. Nothing here, the soldier reported. Just human garbage. Vexer stared at Elias for a long moment. Draconians could smell lies, Elias knew. They could detect changes in body chemistry, tiny shifts in pheromones. But humans smelled different. Their bodies worked differently. What seemed like calm confidence in a human might smell like fear in a draconian. And what seemed like fear might smell like nothing at all. Elias was counting on that now. You seem nervous. Human, Vexer said. 6 armed soldiers just destroyed my home and my garden. Anyone would be nervous. Vexer moved closer until he was standing right in front of Elias. The commander was almost 3 feet taller. His shadow fell over Elias like a dark cloud. Let me be clear. The fugitive we seek is extremely dangerous. Anyone found helping this individual will be executed immediately, along with their family and friends. Anyone with information who fails to report, it will face the same punishment. Elias met the commander's gold eyes. I understand. Do you? Yes, sir. Another long silence. Then Vexer turned away. Move out. There is nothing here. The soldiers left. Their boots echoed down the corridor, fading into the distance. Elias stood in his ruined garden, surrounded by broken tools and trampled plants, and did not move until he was sure they were gone. Then he went to the shed. He moved the compost bags. He opened the hidden door. Keth was curled up at the bottom of the ladder, shaking so hard that the child's scales rattled against each other. They're gone, Elias said softly. Keth looked up. There were tears on the child's face. You lied to them. You lied to the royal guard. For me. Yes, if they find out, they will kill you. I know. Why? The word was almost a scream. Why would you do this? You don't owe me anything. Elias climbed down the ladder and sat beside the trembling child. He put his arm around Keth's shoulders, feeling the cold scales warm slowly under his touch. Because some things are more important than being safe, he said. Because you're a kid who needs help. Because I couldn't live with myself if I handed you over to people who want to hurt you. Keth pressed against his side, shaking, crying. I have to tell you the truth. You deserve to know what you're risking your life for. Only if you're ready. I'm ready. Keth took a deep breath. My name is not just Keth. My full name is Catherine Vor Obsidian, 4th heir to the Draconian throne. And my brother is trying to kill me. Elias sat very still for a moment. Then he let out a long, slow breath. Well, he said, that explains the royal guard. And despite everything, despite the fear and danger and the terrible truth that had just been revealed, Keth made a sound that might have been a laugh. They sat in the dark cellar beneath the shed, and Keth told Elias everything. The Draconian Empire was old. 1,000 years old, maybe more. It stretched across hundreds of star systems, ruled by the Obsidian throne and whoever sat upon it. Right now, That was Empress Nethara, Keth's grandmother. She was ancient, even by draconian standards. Her scales had turned from black to gray. Her eyes were dim. Her fire was fading. When she died, the throne would pass to her heir. And that was the problem. Nethara had 4 grandchildren. Prince Vorith, the eldest, was first in line. Princess Sithara was second. Prince Maldois was third. And Keth was fourth. I never wanted the throne, Keth said quietly. I am the youngest, the weakest. I was always told that I would never rule, that my only purpose was to serve my siblings. And I was happy with that. I did not want power. I just wanted to be left alone. But Vorith wanted more than the throne. He wanted absolute power. And to get it, he needed his siblings gone. 3 months ago, Sithara died in a shuttle accident. The official story was engine failure. But Keth had seen Vorith's face at the funeral. He was not sad. He was satisfied. 2 months ago, Maldois died in a hunting accident. He was killed by a wild beast on one of the Empire's game worlds. But Keth had learned from a servant who was later found dead that the beast had been released deliberately, that someone had paid to have it put in Maldois's path. Keth was next. My brother is very clever, Keth said. He makes everything look like an accident. No one suspects him. He is the perfect prince, the perfect heir. Everyone loves him, except you, except me, because I know what he is. A week before Keth fled, Vorith came to visit. He was kind. He was gentle. He told Keth how much he loved them, how he would always protect them. Then, when he thought Keth was not looking, he spoke to one of his guards. Keth heard only a few words. The young one. The accident is arranged tomorrow night. Keth ran that very night. Stole a small shuttle, flew it until the fuel ran out, then transferred to a cargo ship. Then another ship. Then another. Always moving, always hiding, until finally ending up on Station Kepler 7. I thought no one would look for me here, Keth said. A human station. So small, so unimportant. But I was wrong. Ilias had listened to the whole story without interrupting. Now he sat back against the cold wall of the cellar and let out a long breath. Your brother controls the royal guard? No. The royal guard serves the throne, not any single heir. But Vorith has friends among them, spies, people who owe him favors. He must have convinced the Empress that I ran away because I am a traitor, that I am plotting against the throne. The guard believes they are hunting a criminal, not a victim. And if they catch you? Keth looked at the floor. Vorith will make sure I have an accident before I can tell anyone the truth. Silence filled the cellar. Above them, Elias could hear the faint sounds of the station. People moving, machines humming, life going on as normal. No one up there knew what was happening. No one knew that an empire's fate hung in the balance, right here in a vegetable garden. You should let me go, Keth said. If they come back and find me here, they will kill everyone on this station. 300 people. Because of me. No. Elias. No. His voice was firm. We're not going to let your brother win. We're not going to let a child die. There has to be another way. What other way? The Royal Guard is looking for me. My brother wants me dead. The only person who could help me is my grandmother, and she is 100 light years away, surrounded by guards and servants who are all loyal to Vorith. Elias was quiet for a moment. Then he stood up. Wait here. He climbed the ladder and went to his living quarters. In the corner, buried under a pile of old clothes, was a communication device. Not the standard kind that the station used. This one was different. It used old frequencies, encrypted channels, paths that no government-monitored Elias had contacts. 12 years on the frontier, moving from station to station before settling on Kepler 7, had taught him things. He knew traders who moved between empires without asking questions. He knew colonists who had settled on worlds that no one cared about. He knew people who helped other people disappear. He started making calls. "I need a favor," he said, over and over. "A big one. No questions." Most people said no. Some said maybe. A few said yes, it took hours. Keth stayed in the cellar, waiting, worrying. Elias made more calls. He traded favors he had been saving for years. He called in debts that people had forgotten they owed. Slowly, a plan came together. There was a cargo ship leaving the station in 2 days. The captain owed Elias for saving his life 5 years ago. He would take Keth, hidden among crates of seeds and fertilizer. From there, the ship would meet another ship at a trading post. That captain was the sister of a man Elias had helped once. She would take Keth further, and so on. Ship to ship. Station to station. A chain of humans, each one taking a small risk. Each one passing Keth along to the next. The final destination was the Imperial Palace itself. "There is a human diplomatic delegation going to see the Empress next month," Elias explained. Back in the cellar with Keth. Trade negotiations. Very boring, very formal. Exactly the kind of thing Vorath will not pay attention to. "One of the diplomats is a woman named Sarah Chun. She owes me a very big favor. She has agreed to bring you into the palace as part of her staff." Keth stared at him. "You want me to walk into the palace? Where my brother has spies everywhere. I want you to walk into the throne room and tell your grandmother the truth. Face to face. Where Vorath cannot stop you. That is insane. Probably. It will never work. Maybe not. But it's the only chance you have." Keth was quiet for a long time. Then, slowly, the child began to smile. It was a strange smile, full of fear and hope and something else. Something that looked like wonder. "You have done all this for me," Keth said. "Called in favors. Made deals. Risked everything. Why?" Elias shrugged. "Someone needed help. I was in a position to give it. That is not an answer. It's the only answer I have." He held out his hand. Keth looked at it for a moment, then reached out and took it. The child's claws were sharp against his palm, but gentle. "Thank you," Keth said. "I do not know how to repay you. You don't have to repay me. Just survive. Go home. Tell the truth. Make things better. And if I cannot?" Elias squeezed the child's hand. "You can. I believe in you." It was a simple thing to say. Just a few words. But Keth looked at Elias like he had given them the whole galaxy. The next 2 days were the longest of Elias's life. The soldiers searched the station again. And again. Each time, Keth hid in the cellar, and each time, Elias lied with a calm face and steady hands. And then, finally, the cargo ship arrived. It was time for Keth to go. The cargo ship left station Kepler 7 at midnight. Keth was hidden in a crate marked "Seed Samples. Fragile." The captain, a gruff old man named Morrison, had asked no questions. He simply nodded when Elias brought the crate aboard. And that was that. Elias watched the ship disappear into the darkness between stars. He stood at the observation window for a long time, until there was nothing left to see. Then he went back to his garden and started repairing the damage the soldiers had done. 3 days later, the soldiers returned. This time, they brought something worse. The Inquisitor was tall and thin, with scales that were pure white, like bones bleached by the sun. Her eyes were completely black, no color at all, just endless darkness. She wore robes instead of armor, and she carried no weapon. She did not need one. Her weapon was her mind. Elias had heard stories about Inquisitors. They could read thoughts. They could pull memories from your head like pulling teeth. They could make you tell the truth, even if you would rather die than speak. He knew, the moment he saw her, that his luck had run out. Commander Vexer stood beside the Inquisitor, his gold eyes bright with satisfaction. "The fugitive was tracked to this station," he said. "We know they were here. We know someone helped them escape. The Inquisitor will find out who." They gathered everyone in the station's main hall. 300 humans standing in rows, waiting to have their minds searched. Elias stood among them, his face calm, his heart racing. The Inquisitor moved through the crowd slowly. She touched people on the forehead, one by one. Most she released after just a few seconds. They were innocent. They knew nothing. She reached Elias, thought her hand was cold against his skin. Her black eyes stared into his. He felt her enter his mind. It was like ice water flooding through his thoughts. She saw everything. The garden, the compost heap, the child hiding in the shadows, the meals shared in silence, the conversations about carrots and power and what it means to be kind. She saw him lie to the soldiers. She saw him make the calls, arrange the escape. She saw everything. When she pulled out of his mind, Elias fell to his knees. His head was pounding. His vision was blurred. He felt like something important had been torn out of him. The Inquisitor looked down at him. Then she turned to Commander Vexer. "This is the one," she said. "He hid the fugitive. He arranged their escape." Vexer smiled. It was not a nice smile. "And where is the fugitive now?" The Inquisitor paused. "I cannot say. The human does not know the full path. Only pieces. The fugitive was passed from ship to ship. Too many hands. Too many steps." Vexer's smile faded. "Then we have nothing. We have him." The Inquisitor pointed at Elias. "He can be questioned further, made an example of. His suffering will send a message." They dragged Elias to his feet. His arms were bound behind his back. The other humans watched in silence, their faces pale with fear. None of them tried to help. Elias did not blame them. What could they do against the royal guard? He was taken to a holding cell on a draconian ship. They left him there, alone, for hours. He knew what was coming. Torture. Execution. His body thrown out an airlock. Forgotten. He thought about Keth. He hoped the child had made it. He hoped the plan had worked. Even if he died here, it would be worth it. One life for another. A fair trade. He closed his eyes and waited. But the torture never came. Instead, after 2 days in the cell, the door opened. Commander Vesser stood there, and for the first time, he did not look confident. He looked confused. Maybe even a little afraid. "You are being released," Vexer said. The words seemed to hurt him. Elias stared. "What? Released?" "By order of the Empress herself." He was taken to another ship. A nicer ship. He was given food and water and a soft bed. No one would tell him what was happening. 3 weeks later, he found out the news spread across the galaxy like fire. Prince Vorith, first heir to the Obsidian throne, had been arrested. He was charged with the murder of Princess Sithara and Prince Malois. He was charged with conspiracy to commit treason. He was charged with plotting to kill his own grandmother. The evidence had come from an unexpected source. The fourth heir, young Kethrian Vio Obsidian, had appeared at the Imperial Palace in the company of a human diplomatic delegation. The child had walked into the throne room, past all the guards and courtiers and nobles, and knelt before the Empress and told her everything at first. No one believed it. Vorith was the perfect prince. Everyone loved him. But the Empress was old, not stupid. She ordered an investigation. She had Vorith's private communications searched. She found the evidence of his crimes. Hidden, but not hidden well enough. Vorith was arrested that same day, and the whole empire learned that a human, gardener on a forgotten station, had saved the life of a royal heir, had risked everything, had asked for nothing in return. A month after his release, Elias received a message. It came through official channels, encrypted and sealed with the mark of the obsidian throne. He opened it with trembling hands. "Dear Elias," the message read, "I am safe. I am home. Voreth is in prison and will never hurt anyone again. Grandmother says I was very brave, but I told her the truth. I was not brave at all. I was scared every moment. The brave one was you. I have told everyone your story. How you fed me when I was hungry. How you hid me when I was hunted. How you risked your life for a child you did not know, a child who was not even your own kind. My grandmother wants to know why you did it. She says it does not make sense. Humans are supposed to be weak and selfish. That is what everyone believes. So why would a weak, selfish creature sacrifice everything for a stranger?" I told her what you told me. You said the child was hungry, and you had food. That was all there was to it. She did not understand. Neither do most Draconians. They keep asking what you wanted, what you were trying to gain. They cannot believe that you wanted nothing. But I understand. I understand now what humans are. You are not weak. You are not selfish. You are something we Draconians have never seen before. You are kind, simply because you choose to be. That is your power. That is what makes you terrifying. You cannot be bought because you do not want anything. You cannot be threatened because you value others more than yourselves. You cannot be understood because your logic is not logic at all. It is love. I am going to change things here. I am going to try to make my people understand what I have learned. It will take time. Maybe it will take my whole life. But I will try, because that is what you taught me. You do not have to succeed. You just have to try. Thank you, Elias Mance, for everything. Your friend, Keth. Elias read the message 3 times. Then he put it away and went back to his garden. The tomatoes were ripe. The beans were ready to pick. The carrots that Keth had helped him plant were finally coming up, green shoots poking through the dark soil. He knelt in the dirt and began to work Dot around him. The station hummed with life. 300 people, going about their day, eating food that he had grown. Above him, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, full of empires and wars and secrets. And somewhere out there, a dragon child sat on a throne and remembered a human who had offered them leftovers and asked for nothing in return. That was what humans did. That was their power. And maybe, just maybe, it was enough to change the galaxy.